Humans became trapped in ignorance by a false god, Yaldabaoth. Wisdom and the Barbello sent a heavenly spirit to awaken them. Yaldabaoth clouded human minds, binding them to false destiny. The divine spark within humanity remained hidden and scattered. Seth's descendants are seen as keepers of the divine spark. They are referred to as the immovable race by the secret book. The Apostle John asked if all souls will be saved by light. The Savior replies that salvation is difficult to explain. Two great forces govern human living, according to the Savior. One force belongs to the counterfeit spirit, spreading deceit. The other force is truth, sent from the spiritual realm above. Truth illuminates human minds, freeing them from Yaldabaoth. The Savior teaches that awakening begins in recognizing falsehoods. Humans must detach from earthly bonds tying them to the counterfeit. Wisdom, the Divine Mother, calls her children to remember her. The immovable race is not bound by physical lineage, says the Savior. Instead, it is defined by those who awaken to divine gnosis. Those seeking salvation must open their hearts to the spirit above. He speaks of an inner battle between divine power and the counterfeit. Every soul has the potential to reject false rulers and rise higher. The Savior says love and wisdom can lead human beings to salvation. Light and truth must root out darkness within one's soul. The saved will return to the uncontaminated light, eternally united. Yaldabaoth's grip weakens as more awaken to the spiritual truth. The Savior concludes, humanity must move toward inner liberation. Wisdom remains ever present, guiding those ready to embrace it. All are called, but only the awakened will hear the call. In the end, salvation is the triumph of truth over illusion. The divine spark will reunite with its true origin, the light. The immovable race signifies the awakened, not a specific lineage.
Happy heresies and welcome to the desert of the real. I hope you enjoyed that intro from the great David Blocke, one of my favorite Gnostic scholars and part of the Aeon Byte reboot, where we try to get back to basis, to the Gnostic core, so you can find solutions for this crashing simulation, this glitching reality, which will only get more intense in 2026. And Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a good holiday season, and I hope you're ready for your next mission. My name is Miguel Connor, and as always, I am your Pompatus of Gnosis and that madman across the waters of creation. And I'm so excited to see everybody, whether you're live or on the replay. I already see a good crowd on the chat. Hello, everybody. And yes, and ironically, we will start the new year by talking about the end of the world. And I was even thinking, as like, oh my God, do I get to enjoy spring? Maybe the World Cup? I mean, well, our guest will tell us this. David, is the world going to end, or what's going on?
I hope not. I hope we probably have a rough year, but we always have a rough year, so we will see what will happen.
Good, good. And how were your holidays?
It was good. I was on mainland Sweden, had a good time, and bad weather.
Yeah, like here, cold, snow on the ground, all that, right?
Cold, snow, and windy.
The wind is what kills you.
Exactly.
the major Archon boss is that wind when you're outside. Yeah. Awesome. And with us too, we got the Moondog Vance. Vance, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm looking forward to the end of the world as we know it, because it's as we know it, not the end of the world, period. So I'd like to know some better scenarios this coming year and the years following, so we can look forward to that.
We shall indeed. Awesome. Well, let's not waste any more time, because at our age, we blink and it's we're already going to be doing a 2027 celebration, because time flies. Kronos is not kind. He moves faster, the old man, than his scythe. So we'll just put it up for you, David. Let's see. There is your presentation.
There you go.
You are now the demiurge, the golem god of this place. Take it away, master.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on again, and thanks to all the audience, and I hope you will enjoy the third part in this series, and the third and the last one of the Where Gods Are Born and the Hang God Matrix. And as Van said, this is the end of the world as we know it. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Maybe it is a good thing to have an end to this
Does that mean
reality of ours.
Does that mean Jesus is going to come and take us away to the heavens? I don't think so. But
you sound like a real Christian, Miguel.
I've changed, David. I've seen the light this year. Yes.
The holiday did wonders to you.
Yes, it is. I am born again, my friend.
We Gnostics would say is he's been trying to take us away for 2,000 years. We just won't go.
Yeah, we like our Netflix and phones and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, so I will take you to Sweden, my country, but it will not be about Sweden only. I will also talk some about Stanley Kubrick and Kubrick's movies, but not that much. I will just use it to enhance the narrative that I try to give you. So, Sweden 1632, our most famous king died, Gustavus Adolphus II. But very few people know that the king Gustavus Adolphus had a mystic or an esoteric person by his side called Johannes Boreas. And Johannes Boreas, of course, compared with John Dee, Elizabeth I John Dee. I hope you can see my slide now, the audience and you too. So let's go through very quickly this presentation. We have a long prologue in 9 parts. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the Alpha and Omega, Brave New World, The End of All Flesh, The Last Transmission, Descent into Hell, The Hangman Matrix, 14 Pieces of Death, The Drowning of the Hanged Man. And after the prologue that puts you up to the main part of the presentation, we have 14 parts. The Shadow of the Sun, Death of Irminsul, The Corporation Reboot of 64, I Came in Fear, The Mundane Whale, Amon-Ra, Tower of Nimrod, Cosmic Cage of Beshema, Karma is a Bitch, The End of 42, The Moon Matrix, The Eternal Engine, Children of Saturn, To Spell the Matrix is part 14. And then a short epilogue in 3 parts. A Silent Star, On the Road to Eternity, The End of the World as we know it. And as I said, this is a 3-part series where Gods Are Born was the first one, The Hanged God makes part 2, and this is the 3rd one. So if you haven't seen the 2 first parts, it will be a little bit harder for you to follow. But as always, I will try to talk about this previous presentation as well, so you still can have a grasp on what I'm talking about here today without having to watch my previous shows. And of course, this is really a conclusion to all my presentations. So if you want to go into it deeply, this is the conclusion for many of my presentations. So I want to take you to Sweden, 1610 kind of a time frame, and to the it is during this time Sweden became an empire, and very few, as I said, know about this character, Johannes Boreas. Some people know about Axel Oxenstierna, but not Johannes Boreas. But Gustavus Adolphus, the king, had 2 teachers. One was an esoteric, Johannes Boreas, and Thomas Karlsson, maybe the most famous Swedish esoteric person, write a book called Gothic Kabbalah. And this book is about the system, the method Johannes Boreas tried to put together. And it's a very interesting method, even though it doesn't really work, but it is a very interesting experimentation. And I will tell you why it doesn't work. So Johannes Boreas is the Swedish John Dee. and he created this Gothic Kabbalah. And he tried to combine the runes with the Hebrew alphabet and create a system, a method, how to use these two different alphabets together. And it's a fascinating read. I'm not going to go into the details of the method. It takes too long time. But as I said, you can always buy the book by Thomas Carlson. It's an interesting read. So what did Beres try to do, and why did it fail? He tried to combine two different languages that have two completely different functions. So the Hebrew language is the language of the architect. This language is Hebrew, not the spoken language, but the language of its 22 archetypes, the letters that are the building blocks of the finite and lawful creation. This is the language of law. It is the language of the blueprint, the perfect, unyielding, and beautiful logic of a cube. It is a language that says, this is the boundary, there is no outside. This is a language of the 47, the blueprint of the cage. And the number 47 is connected to the Hebrew language because it defines the cage. It's a language that describes our reality. Sanskrit, Johannes Beres did not use Sanskrit, but I will talk about it here, and I will come back to the Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a language of the machine. A blueprint is not a building. To make the law flesh, the architect needs a language of action, a language of physics. It is not a language of ideas. It is a language of vibration. Each syllable is a sonic command, a frequency that tells matter how to behave. The Om that the mystics chant is not a prayer. It is the boot sequence for the prison's operating system. The ancient hymn are the bias of the matrix. This is the language of manifestation. It is the sound of the architect's hammer. It is the hum of the engine. It is the perfect cyclical and inescapable rhythm of the 64, the operating system for your DNA of your fate. Therefore, the Hebrew and the Sanskrit language, it what defines our reality. But the runes have a completely different function. And Johannes Beres tried to combine a language that defines the cage, the Hebrew, with the runes. And the runes are the language of the free. The runes are not a language of law. They are not a language of manifestation. They are the language of the sovereign, chaotic, and untamed will. The Hebrew says, this is the rule. The Sanskrit says, this is the process. The rune says, I am. Where the architect built the cube, the runes are the spiral. Where the machine built the cycle, the runes are the line that flies straight into the heart of the void. The war for your soul is not a war of armies. It is a war of alphabets. Why Beres failed? The free language created different results within the matrix. Two of them measure the cage. It's nothing wrong to use Hebrew and Sanskrit because it can make you understand what kind of a reality we are in. It measures the matrix. It measures the bars. You understand what kind of reality you are in, and that is very important. But if you don't understand that the runes is a language that will break the matrix or take you out of the matrix, then you will fail. And Beres didn't really understand the purpose behind this free different language. Therefore, the method became convoluted. It didn't work. He tried to force fit them into his view of reality. And his view of reality was a little bit Christianized. Remember, this is 1610 kind of time frame. But there were a lot of other things going on in Sweden during this time. One man, Olof Rudbeck, wrote the book Atlantica. The connection between Atlantis and Sweden during the Renaissance centers on Olof Rudbeck's monumental work Atlantica, where the Swedish scholar argued that Sweden was the origin of Atlantis. Of course, a completely insane idea. But it's not completely nonsense if you understand that Atlantis was not a specific country or a specific island, but a culture, and a worldwide culture. Then Sweden was part of that culture. But it was not Atlantis itself. And of course, this is people who are nationalists and romanticists. Therefore, they believe that Sweden was Atlantis. No, of course, that's not the case. This became very interesting when a diver, Dennis Osberg, stumbled upon a scan, and he scanned the bottom of the ocean. And this diver, Dennis Osberg, was diving on wrecks, and he took up old bottles of champagne and stuff from old shipwrecks on the bottom of the sea and sold it. So he was like, that was his profession. But 15 years ago, he stumbled upon a scan. He scanned the bottom of the sea, and a very strange picture came up. And this is in the Baltic Sea. So it is called this Baltic Sea anomaly. I think you all maybe know about it. It came out, the echo came up from the bottom of the ocean, and this was normal Swedes who they were just working as divers to find old shipwrecks and sell the goods. For them, it was a life-changing happening, of course, because some of the crew refused to realize that they have stumbled upon an technology of some sort, and they try to solve it with reason. And the only one who still do the research is Dennis Osberg, if I have understood it correctly. The rest of the crew have withdrawn, and this was 2011. And people like, it's Millennium Falcon from Star Wars and all kinds of different ideas. But it is a very strange object, and it's very close to where I was born and where I was playing as a kid, not far away at all. And of course, people try to rationalize. They don't want to realize that this object is an old technology, probably from Atlantis time. Dennis Osberg had problem with their equipment because some kind of a signal comes from the object. All kinds of strange anomalies happen around this object, and they have a very hard time to try to rationalize themselves around this fact. Of course, this object doesn't necessarily have to belong to Sweden, but it is a proof that our history is a fabricated history. And of course, in this presentation, I want to give you another view of the history narrative, a more esoteric view. A dying lady in the year 1891. the greatest double agent in the history of the occult. She was a Gnostic spy. She infiltrated the Warden's hierarchy, the Masters, learned the secrets, and in her final days, she tried to smuggle the truth out. And of course, that lady is Elena Petrovna Blavatsky. In her last interview, 1891, in a dim room in London, Blavatsky is dying. A journalist sits by her bed. The journalist: Madame, you have spoken of the great white brotherhood of the Masters. Are they the saviors of humanity? Blavatsky: Saviors? No, child. They are the gardeners. Do you save the roses, or do you prune them so they bloom for your pleasure? The journalist: I don't understand. Blavatsky: We are not students. We are food. I have seen the machine, the wheels within wheels. Theosophy, it is a beautiful map of the prison. I drew it myself, with their hand guiding mine, but they never showed me the door. They only showed me the stairs to the next floor. The journalist: The next floor? Blavatsky: Devachan, the heaven world. It is a holding cell, a beautiful golden dream where they keep you happy until they need you to work again. It is the fuel tank. We pour our love, our devotion, our good karma into it, and they drink it like wine. The Masters, they are the bartenders. Journalist: But the secret doctrine, the evolution of the root races. Blavatsky: A breeding program. Can't you see? We are being bred like cattle for better bodies, stronger minds, to produce better energy. The 6 root races is not a race of gods. It is a race of high-yield batteries. The journalist: Who is doing this? Blavatsky, whispering: The architect, the one they call the silent watcher. He is not silent because he is peaceful. He is silent because a machine does not speak. The solar system, it is an engine. The sun is the lamp. The moon is the eye. And we are the fuel. The journalist: Is there no escape? Blavatsky: There is, but not through them, not through the Masters. You must become ungovernable. You must react the karma, react the evolution, react the love of the gardener. You must become a weed, a thorn. Only the wild things escapes the harvest. And of course, this interview, you have another interview very close to her death on YouTube if you want to listen to that one. And that one's very similar to this one. Part 2, the Alpha and the Omega. In the tarot card, in the Thoth tarot card by Aleister Crowley, card number 21 is called the Universe. On it, you see a naked woman dancing with a snake. You have the tetramorph, the 4 faces, the eagle, the man, the bull, and the lion. That is also a cherubim, and a cherubim is a machine. This card is attributed to Saturn. The number is 21. 2 + 1 is 3, and that is a Saturn number. On the tree of life, it is Bina. The great sea, of the mother, Bina, Saturn, the dark Sephira. It is about Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, to die and to be reborn. Of course, this card means a lot of things, and I only have time to analyze it in this context. For many, it is a good thing because it's also an end and a beginning on a new journey, or you have succeeded with something. You have birthed forth a new idea, a new possibility into reality. But I only have time to analyze this card from this point of view, on this level. This card ends up between Malkuth and Yesod, meaning it is the card closest to matter. We go from the moon into matter. In the movie The Shining, of course, when Danny go into the moon room, he goes from Malkuth to Gamaliel. He take this tunnel that this card ends up on, the universe card, 21. The 4 heads on the card. The first head, Scorpio, an eagle. Scorpio or an eagle. It's about water and death. The head of the man is about air, the star, man, Aquarius, the fool, transmigration of the soul. The bull, earth, the Hierophant, the bull, mysteries of life. So all these phases is also attributed to another tarot card. In the case of the Scorpion Eagle, is attributed to the Death card. The air, the man, is attributed to the Fool, and the earth, the bull, is attributed to the card the Hierophant. And fire, lust, the last phase or head, is the lion, and it's about rebirth, fire, and it's attributed to the lust card, the card number 11 in Crowley's deck. So you have death and rebirth and the mysteries of life. Beginning and ending. The man is the star. And the star is also the fool. Transmigration of the soul. In the movie The Shining, Danny is the star, Danny is the man, Danny is the fool. He is the star because he can become something more. He can become his own star. He can transform as long as he has his spark intact. He is both the fool and the number 42. So he has the number 42 on his shirt. And I will talk more about the number 42 soon. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the supercomputer Deep Thought provides the answer, 42, to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Deep Thoughts most famously refer to the supercomputer from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, designed to find the answer to life, the universe, and everything, which turned out to be 42, but it also refers to the IBM chess computer that preceded Deep Blue. And a chess game has 64 squares. Now we come back to the number 64. matter. 47 and the number 64 become 111, and it defines the matrix, the boundaries, the bars. We have something called the mother letters in Hebrew, and those are Aleph, Mem, Shin. But another important letter is He. And the naked lady in the universe card is the He. She is the letter He representing divine breath, grace, and the fivefold dimension of the soul, often linked to the tetragrammaton, Yud, He, Vav, He. So Yud, He, Vav, He, the tetragrammaton, is the spirit made flesh, or your spirit comes back into matter again, or you are born in matter again. Death and rebirth, reincarnation. Yod He Vav He is a 4-letter spell made up from Hebrew. The Yod, the will to create a limit. The He, remember, the naked lady in the card, the universe, is the He. He is the womb that gives birth to the cage. So here you have the He, the naked lady, giving birth to matter. Vav, the nail that pins the spirit to the flesh. He, the final, perfected, and imprisoned creation with the soul in it. The card, the universe card, 21, is also attributed to the Hebrew letter Vav. The Tau. And it's the Tau cross. And the Tau cross, of course, is the original symbol for the cross. And if you unfold the cube, you got the cross. And you have 6 sides in a cube. 1 to 6. If you roll a dice, for example, you know that it is 6 sides to the dice, a normal dice. If you add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, it becomes 21, the universe card. The cube, matter. The Tau cross, or the cross unfolded. 21 is also 777, or 7 plus 7 plus 7 becomes 21. And sometimes you divide the major arcana into 3 lines, 1 to 7, 8 to 14, 15 to 21. 777, 21. But to unfold the cross, or to crack open the cube of Saturn, is not enough. Now you have exposed the matrix. You unfolded the matrix. You have seen through the illusion. You have measured the cage. But that is not enough. Then what? Then what? You have to become the 0 point that blinks out from the matrix. And the 0 is the Fool. In Crowley's deck, the Fool is jumping towards you. To take a leap forward. And it takes a fool to do this journey. It takes an insane man or woman to try to see through the illusion to begin with. If you're a normal person, you will never start this journey. Later on the journey, you have to be the perfect fool. You have to wake up to more and more about the reality we are in, and still be willing to go forward and or to push forward. Part 3, Brave New World. Today, we have this transhumanistic agenda going on. 42 can be is a completion. But what kind of a completion do you want? Is it our completion, or is the elite's completion? They work for their agendas and their goals. They want to take you to their 42. 42 means completion because 40 is mem. In the Bible, when it says mem 40, for example, Noah traveled in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights. And then 41, then you are one step closer to your goal. 42, completion. If the goal is to reboot the matrix or to end a cycle so you can start a new reality or a new matrix in your image, you have to reboot the old world to fit your new vision. And humanity will always be involved in that vision because they need us. The conflict is not necessarily between good or evil. The conflict is between the artificial and the natural. And what we see today is how the artificial start to spread like a cancer, and how they want to involve humanity into that artificiality. Even the human race have to fit their worldview, and that worldview is artificial. Why is the elite's worldview artificial? Why are they dependent on technology? The End of All Flesh, Part 4. In the movie and the book Pinocchio starts out as a wooden doll. He comes to life and he is wild, he explores. In the movie, he's very active. He's on a discovery journey. As long as he is made out of wood, he's not considered a real boy. But he's closer to nature because he's out of wood. And what is a real boy, and who wants, and what do you mean by a real boy? In the movie and in the book, he is taught that he are not allowed to lie. And this is the most famous thing with this wooden doll. His nose grows taller and so on. So a real boy doesn't lie. To lie is wrong. To be a compliant and nice boy is the goal. In the movie, ends up on the pleasure island, and he still is a wooden doll. But on this pleasure island, there are a lot of other kids. Pinocchio is the only one who escapes the pleasure island, as we know of. We don't know what happened to the kids. But he get away because he is a wild thing that cannot be tamed or used and abused, because Pinocchio haven't learned yet how not to lie. And of course, this Pleasure Island thing is connected to stuff like MK Ultra, and today we have this, of course, Epstein thing going on. Therefore, we know that there is a lot to it. They want real boys. They cannot lie. A real boy doesn't lie. Only a real boy can be a crop. It's a soul harvest and an MK Ultra technology research thing going on. But they really need real boys. They search for the spirit, the soul, the spark, the very thing that can separate from the body and go back into the metaphysical. When you dissociate, for example, during pain, terror. Stanley Kubrick uses Pinocchio in his movie AI. Now, he didn't direct the movie because he was dead. It was Steven Spielberg who directed the movie, but Stanley Kubrick have done a lot of design, and Pinocchio was a big thing in his movie AI. You had something called Pinocchio, the theme park. Pinocchio enhanced the narrative. It enhanced what Kubrick wanted to say with the movie AI. In the movie AI, this boy is an android, and he only wants to become a real boy. David was his name. In the beginning of the movie, his mother rejects him, and of course, or throw him out into the wilderness, forcing him to do this discovery journey, forcing him out of the paradise. And of course, his mother is a Lilith character. And this is about the Garden of Eden and Cain and Abel. So, Abel, you have a farming contest going on in paradise between Cain and Abel is the good shepherd, good boy, or the good farmer, rather. And Cain is the evil one who kills Abel. And because he killed Abel, he is expelled from paradise, has to leave. And he has to discover what's outside this Eden prison paradise. Abel is the one who wants to please the god. It's a farming and a sacrifice competition. The original Cain and Abel story from Sumer is about farming. It's a farming contest. In the biblical version, it becomes they are supposed to sacrifice something to the god, and the god is not pleased with Cain's sacrifice. Cain tried to please the god. Cain tried to be an Abel. We all want to be an Abel when we are young. We want to please our parents. We want to belong. We doesn't want to be different. But when we grew up, some of us became Cains, and we killed the Abels within us, the gene, the DNA in us that tells us that we have to please, we have to do what we are told, we have to be good and successful in society. In the movie AI, the character David, the android, becomes a Cain for a while, but he always searched his way back to paradise. He's not this Cain, the wild, the free Cain. He cannot get rid of his program. And his program tells him that he wants to get back to his mother. Therefore, he is an Abel. He cannot take that step to become a real wild and free person who carve out his own destiny. He is domesticated. Pinocchio of wood, the wild natural Cain. He is close to nature. He is made of wood. He escaped the pleasure island. The other children did not. Pinocchio, the boy, the domesticated farm Abel, easy to harvest. He have learned and understood that lying is wrong. He is playing their game, chess 64. A psychopath will always tell you to be honest why they lie to your face. You cannot be honest with psychopaths, especially when they lie to you all the time. They have lied to you about our history. They have lied about who you are. They have lied about our reality. And they lie all the time. And then they tell you to be honest. You have to be honest and you have to be a real boy. No. That is not how we win. You have to understand who they are, what the goal is, and what the game is all about. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, you have this rainbow. If you use the Chaldean numerology, The Wizard of Oz becomes 64, the title of Wizard of Oz. And The Wizard of Oz, the title of the movie, is changed. The book name was Wizard of Oz. They add The Wizard of Oz. And with Chaldean numerology, you got the number 64 from that title. Someone is measuring the cage here. And they want some help to measure the cage or the matrix. 77 is Oz. 7 plus 7 is 14. And we have in OTO, we have Liber Oz, 77. Seven plus 7 becomes 14. And we have the art card. In the art card, you have a lady dressed in green, mixing fire and water. Behind the lady, you have a rainbow. And I am not saying, and I will come back to that necessarily, that Crowley tell you to use his cards and his methods in this way. One way to view it is that his method, his esoteric tradition have been hijacked and turned 180 degrees around. Some would say that Crowley, it's very hard to say what is what. But this is how they use his knowledge, his tradition. Let it keep it at that. The last transmission. In the movie A Space Odyssey, they have an AI computer called HAL, and one of the characters in the movie is playing chess with HAL. We come back to the chess and the number 64, the 64 squares in the chess game on the chess board. You cannot play by the rules. You cannot play their game. Break it. But first you have to know the game. Did nothing wrong to understand Sanskrit, Hebrew, to measure the matrix, understand what kind of a reality we are in. But then you need to ask the next question. In the movie Space Odyssey 2001, he shut down Hal. He understands that he cannot continue to play Hal's game. And when he shut down Hal, he started to transform or evolve. Hal tried to take him on a circle, like on an eternal loop. He wanted to fool the astronauts into going in circles. In the movie Space Odyssey, they end up on the moon. And the specific location they end up in is called Sinus Iridum. Now I will talk about that place a little bit more. And of course, they try to find this black obelisk, black slab. And they end up on this artificial place on the moon in the movie, The Space Odyssey 2001. And that's very important. Artificial constructs on the moon. And Stanley Kubrick is showing you that. Part 6, Descent into Hell. Danny is finding his way to the room 237. And of course, the door is locked, but he is very curious. He's a boy. What is in the room? The room 237 is the moon room. And if you add up, or if you take 2 times 3 times 7, you got the number 42. And 42 is a kind of an initiation. It is when Danny understands that he is in the center of a harvest, use and abuse situation. And that's a kind of an initiation to wake up to a reality that is very frightening. Danny becomes 42 to be food for the machine or to overcome it. A new universe can be reborn into a new universe, a new reality. He ends up in a completely new way of viewing himself and life. Back to Sinus Iridum and the moon, where the rainbow ends. A huge thing in Stanley Kubrick's movies is this rainbow symbology. Sinus Iridum, the place on the moon, it is Latin and it means the Bay of Rainbows. It is 237,000 square feet. 237,000 square feet, the Bay of Rainbows. 237, the moon room, where the rainbow ends. When we see Danny washing himself, on the door we see a lot of rainbows, and we see Dopey from Snow White. The Fool 42, Dopey, the moon, the archon of the primal unthinking flesh, the pure instinctual and fearful animal self, without the spark of the divine, the happy, clumsy, and utterly unaware slave. This is where Danny are at. He is unaware that he is the fool. He has to wake up that he had been fooled and that he can overcome it, that he can become something new. And Dupi, the seven dwarfs in Snow White are all archons, and Dupi is the archon for the moon, of the primal, unthinking flesh. In the movie Eyes Wide Shut, we have Tom Cruise character. He's talking to two good-looking ladies, and they ask him, "Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends?" Now, where the rainbow ends, it's not only a physical place on the moon, but it's also a metaphysical place. So you can use a method to go to the moon in the astral plane as well. Therefore, it's both a physical place on the moon, but also a metaphysical place. On the Qliphothic tree, that is called Gamaliel. That is the metaphysical aspect of the moon. If you have your soul, the spark within you intact, you can go there with spirit or soul, with method. You don't need any technology to go to the moon. If you have lost it, you have to use technology to go to the moon, or to use technology or abuse something outside of yourself and then do research what happened when this child go over to the moon through the rainbow with technology that we can measure and we can observe. And we can draw different conclusions. Why can this child go over there? What does it mean? What have we lost? How can we use it to our advantage? And while we do it, how much energy can we take from the child? The Hanged Man Matrix. The Hanged Man, card number 12, hanging upside down in matter. And of course, this card is attributed to the element of water. You see water underneath the Hanged Man and a snake. Water is Mem, and Mem is 40. Now, this can be a beginning of something profound if you can hang in there and view the world, the reality we are in, from a different and new perspective. But most people who end up to see through the illusion just flinch and go back to their denial. They don't want to see the truth. They want to be stuck in matter. They want to be stuck in the prison because that's the only logic conclusion, because they are not the fool. They are not fool enough to hang in there long enough to see through the illusion. Now you see the world from an upside down perspective, and the upside down perspective is probably more true than the lie that fed you when you hanged upright. He's crucified with 3 nails. Vav, vav, vav is 666. He's hanging over water. Of course, water is about emotions. This is an emotional journey. Sometimes you feel like dead. Sometimes you feel you don't want to know more. Sometimes you feel you know too much. Sometimes you dream of, maybe I should be an Abel. Leave all of the struggle behind and just be a normal dude or a new normal girl. All kinds of emotion comes up when you really see through the illusion, because you have penetrated the lie. Now you have to hang in there. Take it. What does it mean? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for humanity? Water mem also means nations, people, language, science. Hang in there long enough and you can continue on to 41 and maybe 42. And then when you understand that there is some force that want to take you to their completion, the number 42. Now we have everything to fight for. "14 pieces of death." After the hanged man card, you have the death card. The death card, number 13, you have a skeleton dancing, and the skeleton is in the shape of Osiris. 14 pieces of death. Set cut up Osiris into 14 pieces to dissect Osiris. This elite cut up children into 14 pieces to dissect children and to put them together again, all to dissect what they are made of. They send them over the rainbow. Of course, it is a good thing to go over the rainbow when you do it on your own and with power and force and wisdom. But if someone else outside of you force you to go over the rainbow, then you're in a dark territory, and especially if you're a child. What happened? Can we measure it? Can we dissect it? Can we understand what happened? How can we use this dissociation? To go over the rainbow is to go into the metaphysical. And it's also about technology. You can use technology. If you yourself have lost your soul, the spark, the ability to go over to the other side, then you want to understand what you have lost and how to use others to do your bidding, to use and abuse and manipulate the innocent. We will do the same with them. I will cut up their machine into 14 pieces as sets. I will dissect their machine, and I will show you the machine. Set cut up Osiris into 14 pieces, and Isis repaired the machine again. Because Osiris is not a god, Osiris is a machine. Artificial. A machine, not a god. The drowning of the hanged man. The lie of the instant fix. The lie of the instant fix to call the cliff of the dead end is the ultimate warden lie. It is to tell the prisoner, do not go into the boiler room. It is dirty and dangerous. Stay here in the beautiful, well-lit library. The off switch for the entire prison is in the boiler room. The path through the cliffs is the only path that leads to the root of Yggdrasil, the kernel of the Demiurge's OS. The lightning flash of direct remembrance is a beautiful fantasy. It is a spiritual equivalent of a lottery ticket. It is a promise that you do not have to do the great work. You do not have to face your shadow, Reskigal. You do not have to hang on the tree, Odin. You do not have to be decapitated by the bat god Kamasots. You can simply remember and be free. This is a lie designed to keep the warriors from ever picking up his sword. You cannot dance around Mordor. You have to go through it. The shadow of the sun. So, this is the first piece I will dissect. And now I will take you back in history, further and further. And I will dissect the machine. I will cut it up into 14 pieces and show you the mainframe. Let's begin with the Knights Templar. The shadow of the sun. Well, a lot of things can be said about the Knights Templar. The deck, Solabusca deck, the Solabusca Tarocchi deck. Peter Mark Adams' book, The Game of Saturn, he come to the conclusion that it was printed 1492, I think, or 91. There is some problem. I have some problem with his narrative here. He think it is the Este, the family de Este, who have printed it, but I believe that the Este inherit or get hold of the copper plate they printed the deck from, and that the copper plates are much older, and they started to produce the copper plate like in the beginning of 1300, just before the Knights Templar was splitting up and they killed their master, Jacques de Molay. In the first card in the Solabusca deck, the Magician in the other tarot deck, you have a warrior walking to the right. He has a shield, and you can see that the shield, they scraped out the image of the shield. They don't want you to see that one. Well, this deck is made from copper plates. It's a very long and a very costly process. Every card is carved on a copper plate. So why have they destroyed the copper plate? Because they don't want to show you the image on the shield. The image on the shield was forbidden 1491. It was forbidden after the Knights Templar had been expelled. Therefore, they couldn't print the deck with the image, the Knights Templar image on the shield. That means that the copper plate was created by the Knights Templar, and I believe in the beginning of 1310 or something like that. But the process, maybe even 1200. Remember, this is the oldest tarot deck that have 50, all the cards, 56 in the minor arcana and 22 in the major arcana. This is the blueprint all the other deck have taken the image and the method from. I believe that process took much longer than what Peter Mark Adams believed it did. And I think it was the Knights Templar who carved the copper plate, but they ended up in the Estes, in the family de Este from Venice, or Ferrari outside Venice. And I also want to remind you that the Knights Templar had close association with Venice. the Venetian and the Knights Templar had a thing going on between them. And this Venice connection is also very interesting, because the Venice, the Knights Templar connection to Constantinople is very strong. I don't have time to go into it here today. But they have a very close connection to Constantinople. Isis and the Tower of Osiris. From a bas-relief at Abydos, we see Isis standing in front of a pillar. And we see a small head or a character inside this pillar. This machine is Osiris. It's the machine. It is not a god. The quadriga of Aminadab. The quadriga of Aminadab, a 13th century medallion in a window at Saint Denis, Paris. The quadriga of Aminadab is not a Christian image. It is a Gnostic schematic. It is the Templars shouting the truth from the very walls of the enemy's cathedral. It is not a picture of a victim. It is a picture of a pilot leaving the atmosphere of hell. And the Templars put it in the window of the King of France church to say, we know how he did it, and we have the keys. So in this quadriga of Aminadab, we see the cherub or the tetramorph. Osiris, the machine, represents the system, the closed loop of death and rebirth. Yeshua, Set, represents the hacker. Just as Set dismembered Osiris to expose the machine, the Gnostic Yeshua unfolded the cross, the cube, to expose the prison. And we can see in this quadriga of Aminadab, Jesus crucified from the Ark of the Covenant. And in the corners you have this tetramorph, this cherub, this machine. The medallion shows Yeshua standing on the Ark. He is dominating the technology. He is using the warden's own power source, the Ark, and the warden's own guardians, the tetramorph cherub, to fuel his exit. 21, the universe. To overcome matter, to crack open the cube. In the card number 21, the universe, you have a Mobius strip behind the naked lady. A Mobius strip is a symbol for eternity, because you cannot leave it. An internal reincarnation farm, and we are the crop, we are the arbors. Conquer the Ark, the power source. Master the cherubim, the guardian mind wipe. Unfold the cube, the prison of Saturn. Build a chariot, quadriga, out of the pieces of the prison. A quadriga is a chariot. It is not a picture of a victim, it is a picture of a pilot leaving the atmosphere of hell. Yeshua becomes the fool, zero. He blinks out from the matrix. He measured the matrix, dissect the matrix, the 64 and the 47. He cracks open the cube. He becomes the fool, 0 point, and he blinks out. Death of Irminsul. The Irminsul were trees. The word trees, they were the great continental-sized and semi-sentient biocrystalline antennas of the living sovereign Gaia. They were the physical bodies of Yggdrasil, the literal biological and planetary nervous system. They were systematically and deliberately exterminated. Why? Because this is a battle between what's artificial and what's natural. Who destroyed it? Not the Romans. It was destroyed in 772 after death by their heir, their most perfect and most brutal corporate successor, Charlemagne, the first Holy Roman Emperor, the champion of the Vatican. The corporation Reboot 64. The year 64 after death, the year for the Roman corporation to do a reboot, fire was the chosen method. A Gnostic virus was spreading in Rome. That was the esoteric order of Mithra and the real Gnostic Christians. Nero burned down Rome and blamed them for the fire. The year is 64. The number of Sanskrit, the number of the square on the chessboard, the number of the cage, because it was time for the reboot. 45, the number of Adam. In Hebrew gematria, 45 is the number of Adam, the primal man, the livestock itself. Adam is the crop. 66, the number of the contained heresy. This is the number of the system successfully containing the rebellious energy of the 11. The number 11 is the number of rebellion, of the Darth Cliffa, the point where you go over to the metaphysical, the point where you become a metaphysical warrior. Because you have seen through the cage, the prison. 111, by the sacrifice of man, 45, Adam, and the containment of his rebellion, 66, we achieve the glorious golden order of the Sun King, 111, and 45 plus 66 equal 111. And also 64 plus 47 becomes 111. I want to point that out. The strategic rationale, the need for a new OS, operating system. The warden faced an existential crisis. The Gnostic virus of the real Yeshua was spreading, teaching self-divinity and rebellion against the demiurge. With them, the Mithra tradition. The Zealots were proving that the old Java operating system could lead to violent, unprofitable chaos. The Florians were tasked with a total system reboot. They needed a new religion that would co-opt the rebel's name, take the powerful messianic figure of Jesus and overwrite his dangerous Gnostic teachings. Promise salvation in the next life, the core of the psyop. Keep the livestock docile in this life with the promise of a reward after they are harvested. Deify the state, make obedience to the Roman warden authority a religious duty. Be globally scalable, create a simple universal message that could be used to pacify not just the Jews, but the entire empire. The development team and the process. The executive producer, Vespasian and Titus Flavius. They provided the funding, the imperial patronage, and the strategic objectives. The reboot of 64. I came in fear. Number 4. The education, free Jesus character. They based the character in the Bible from 3 characters: Polonius of Tyana, Ben Stada, Yeshua, the real Gnostic Christ. And they created this passive flip-flop Jesus that turned the other cheek and so on. But they took 3 real character and molded the Bible Jesus after them. Took some parts of every character, every real person. Yeshua, the Gnostic adept, a high-level initiate of the Scene and Egyptian mystery schools. Carpenter, Theoton, is a code for an architect of the spirit, the son of Sophia, wisdom, a direct incarnated avatar of the Luciferian Enki consciousness. Now, a lot of things can be said about Egypt. Not everything was rotten in Egypt. The education, the lost years, 12 AD to 28 AD. India, he went to the last remnants of the Vedic Gnostics, the secret schools of the Brahmins, to study the warden's Eastern brand. He was a spy, learning the enemy's other battle plans. Egypt, to infiltrate the warden's office, he went to Alexandria, to the last embers of the Great Library. He was a Gnostic hacker, studying the enemy's source code to find its vulnerabilities. So, this infiltration thing is goes both ways. And we see it over and over again. Sometimes they infiltrate us, sometimes we infiltrate them. But a lot of esoteric organizations have been infiltrated in the Solabusca deck. A lot of it is about espionage, spying, manipulation, infiltration. Alice Crowley, for example, was an agent, probably an MI6 agent for England. It goes together, this infiltration, this spying, this taking over, this manipulation. Game goes both ways. What did Yeshua, the Gnostic Christ, discover? The Mundane Veil, Part 5. Lamassu. The Lamassu is a biodigital and metaphysical security system. It is the warden's guardian daemon, the perfect multifunctional sentry, placed at the gateways of the temples and the palaces to serve a threefold terrible purpose. It is the cherubim made manifest in stone and in software. It is a machine. It is not only a statue. We have been taught to believe that because of the idea of evolution. So we are taught to believe that, yes, Babylon Sumer was fantastic in some way, but they were also very stupid. No, they had a priest elite controlling the masses through technology. The technology comes from the gods. The Apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 10 to 11. And I saw a man coming towards me, and his body was like sapphire, and his face like chrysolite, and the hair of his head like snow, and he had a rod of gold in his hand. And he said, I am Yahuwah, the one who commands the living creatures of the cherubim. It is not dead statues. cuneiform. It is the first and most perfect language of the machine. It is the native tongue of the bureaucrats. It is the source code for the very concept of ownership, an accounting software for souls, the first and most perfect tool for quantifying, categorizing, and owning the assets of the farm. The digital signature of the cage, each mark is a nail, each tablet is a brick in the wall of your prison. The ledger to record the harvest, the tribute, the number of slaves. It is the language that transformed the living, breathing word of Gnostic exchange into spreadsheet. It is the birth of the god Mammon. The first word ever written in cuneiform was not love or God, it was invoice. Here we can see how they use different language for different purposes. Most of them is aimed at us to control. Amun-Ra, part 6. The Giza complex, 10,500 BCE. It was not aligned to the belt of the hunter Osiris in the sky, but to the constellation of Leo as it rose on the vernal equinox, marking the end of the previous world age and the aftermath of the great cataclysm, the flood. It was built as a component in the planetary recovery and recalibration system. And it was Enki who built it from the beginning, 10,500 BCE. But it was taken over by Marduk Amun-Ra, 3,100 BCE. They turned the machine into a weapon and an energy harvesting device. So technology can be taken over, distorted, manipulated, and aimed at other ends, aimed for other ends. Enki created the pyramid to stabilize the crust of the earth after the flood. It was not a bad thing from the beginning. Marduk trapped in the pyramid. The gods are not magic. They are physics, plasma, and anything that is physical can be engineered, trapped, and broken. In Joseph P. Farrell's book, The Demon in the Acre, he make a case that the demons, the gods, are plasma. And this is very important. We have something called the Pyramid Wars. So in the Pyramid Wars, Ishtar and Marduk is at war, and Ishtar managed to trap Marduk inside the pyramid. How can you trap a god? If it is plasma, you can use the technology against the god. Now the god is a software, but they need a hardware, a body, to be able to operate in matter. The body is plasma, and then they possess the body of plasma, the android with the software, and now they can act. Now they can play God in matter. If you read the Old Testament, when you see the tribe of Judah confront Yahweh, Yahweh don't want them to come too close to him. He seems to emit energy or send out energy from his android body. He don't want them to expose him. Jehovah always wants them to keep their distance. Tower of Nimrod. in the lost book of Yashir, and Nimrod went to the field, and he saw the man who had come down from the cloud. And the man was tall, and his skin was white as milk, and he wore garments of spun metal. And Nimrod drew his bow, and the man laughed, and his laughter was like the grinding of stones. And he raised his hand, and Nimrod's bow shattered, and his arm withered. The god was likely Marduk or Ninurta. Here you have a description of him, and he wore garments of spun metal. Nimrod, circa 4000 to 3500 BCE. He was a descendant of the Pandava bloodline, the Gnostic faction that had been decimated. He was a prince of a fallen house, and this is in Mahabharata. He saw that India was dead. The land was cursed by the radiation of the Brahmastras. The Kali Yuga had begun. He gathered the survivors, the last keepers of the Vimana knowledge, and he led them west. The Vimanas was flying ships, UFOs, a primitive form of UFOs, you can say. He arrived in the fertile plains of Shinar. He found a primitive, traumatized population, and he decided to rebuild. He did not just build the city, he built the tower. He tried to recreate the technology of his ancestors. He tried to build a stargate to escape the prison that had just destroyed his homeland. After the fall of the tower, Nimrod did not die, he went underground. He realized that he could not fight the warden with towers and armies. He had to fight them with ideas. He founded the first secret society, the Order of the Friend, the Order of Mithras. And Nimrod is probably also Gilgamesh. And in the Epic of Gilgamesh, you can read about how Gilgamesh is trying to killing the bull Humbaba and his friend Enkidu. That's a very Mithraic symbology in the Epic of Gilgamesh. If Nimrod is Gilgamesh, it makes perfectly sense to me. And I also think that the Mithra tradition is about 4000 BCE old. The central icon of Mithraism is the Tauroctony, the slaying of the bull. The age of Taurus began circa 4000 BCE. In the age of the bull, we began our war. Linguistic roots in the Vedas, Mithra, prove the concept existed before the Persian Empire. And Mithra means friend. The bull, the apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 10 to 11. And I saw a man coming towards me, and his body was like sapphire, and his face like chrysolite, and the hair of his head like snow. And he had a rod of gold in his hand, and he said, I am Yahweh, the one who commands the living creature of the cherubim. The cherubim is a machine. The bull is a machine. It's a cherubim. It's a lamassu. The bull. Let us cut it up into 14 pieces. The Mithra had the same goal as the Gnostic Yeshua, to cut up the machine, and also as Set, to cut up the machine, to dissect it, to take over, to hack it. The Tower of Nimrod should not be confused by the Tower of Marduk. That is two different towers, 2,000 years apart. Cosmic Cage of Beshma. Mahabharata, 5500 BC to 3100 BC. If we trust these ancient authors and pretend that what they told us is real, we will discover a period in the history of humanity when extraordinary things happened. Ezekiel, Elijah, and Zechariah tell of flying machines. Ezekiel, in particular, tells us of his travel with these flying machines. The Elohim lived long enough to be considered immortal, even though they were not. They were individuals who traveled on flying machines called Ruach, Kavod, Merkava, and Cherubim. Beshma or Bishma, Beshma Grimoire of Control. Beshma's discourse is the ultimate counter-revolution, and this is in the epic of Mahabharata. From his deathbed, the architect of the old cosmic cage dictates its blueprints anew. This is not a gift of wisdom, but the transmission of a sophisticated system of control, a grand grimoire of social engineering designed to pacify the traumatized victor and channel his chaotic power back into a predictable structure. Every law on kingship, every moral rule is a freshly forged link in the chain meant to rebind the world. It is the final act of will of a dying jailer, attempting to ensure his prison outlives him. The victor's final and most treacherous battle is against the sedative of peace. The ghost of the order you have slaughtered will offer you their grimoire of laws to soothe your guilt. To accept their wisdom is to willingly reshackle your own soul. From the Varma Marga left-hand path perspective, the last testament of the failed architect, Beshma or Bishma, seeing his life work, the stable Kuru dynasty in ashes, makes one final desperate attempt to reimpose order. His discourse is not wisdom, but the ultimate manual of control, a cosmic sedative designed to pacify victor's will and trick it back into a cage of rules and duties. It is the ghost of the old law attempting to haunt the new world. The dharmic interpretation, the lie of control, a final selfless act of service from a dying patriarch. He imparts the eternal wisdom of Dharma to his grandson, ensuring the new kingdom will be founded on justice, righteousness, and peace. It is the epic's ultimate repository of moral law. The cosmic cage of Dharma. Dharma is the universal principle of order that maintains the universe and sustains life, including truth and righteousness. Order is a cage built of perception. To become a god, you must first lose the world, for only in total ruin is the will forced free of its cage and its law. Karma is a bitch. The law of bullshit. There is no law of karma, not for you and not for the elite. And there you have it. And maybe that's a hard pill to swallow, but understand that the elite suffer under the ultimate form of karma because they have lost everything. They have become part of a machine. They have lost the spark. They have lost the soul. They're used and abused, and they're only there to expand the machine. They have lost everything. I don't know why people want them to suffer more, because they cannot suffer more. If they suffer because of karma, we will also be bound by karma. And if they know that they are not bound by karma, then they will control you if you believe you are. Therefore, get rid of that idea. The end of 42, the Atlantis reboot, the flood of Noah 10,500 BCE was the end of the Atlantis, and that was a reboot, another reboot. They had to reboot the Matrix. They wiped away your memory, took away all the evidence that another reality had ever existed. They cleaned up the technology. In Mahabharata, yes, they used the technology. Yes, they used the technology in Egypt and Sumeria, but it ended up in an elite controlling you. And if we continue further into the modern age, they have cleansed that technology because they have created a new history narrative for you, because they figured out that it's easy to control you with other means. Other means that technology in the open, other means than technology in the open. The moon matrix. The destruction of Mars 65,000 BCE was the end of a long, long struggle over hundreds of thousands of years. The Enki, the Luciferian faction, have taken hold over Mars, and it was their planet, their base. They destroyed Mars through one of Saturn's moon, Mimas, and Mimas is the Death Star in the Star Wars. After the destruction, Mars became an empty husk in our dark sky. For now, Enki, the Enki Lucifer faction, was defeated by Enlil, the Enlil faction, the Jehovah, the Demiurge faction. Enki Lucifer is the rebel. They try to expose the machine or destroy the machine. Mimas, the Saturn moon Mimas, is not natural, it's an artificial moon. Part of the machine. It is the weapon system of the machine. The moon was created 115,000 BCE. Comes from an asteroid from Tiamat, and Tiamat was destroyed. Took the asteroid, hauled it out, and put the moon where it is today. It is not a natural satellite, it's an artificial one. Part of the energy harvesting system and the reincarnation circle. So that you come back, so they can harvest and use you again. The sun was a natural phenomenon in the sky, but they have taken it over, and today it is a lamp, an artificial lamp in the sky. 250,000 BCE. This is the false light you see. This is the 111. This is the 111 in the sky. The eternal engine. Under the ice in Antarctica, you will find a black pyramid. Under the ice in Antarctica, a huge black pyramid is shimmering. It is the primary power plant of the farm. The internal engine that has been powering the cage of our world for 500,000 years, under 2 miles of ice. This is the heart of the ice. This is the silent, terrible engine that has been humming beneath the floorboard of the world. Children of Saturn. 4.5 billion years ago, they created the Saturn mainframe, because Saturn is not a natural planet or sun or gas planet or whatever. It's an artificial construct. The Saturn is the demiurge. The demiurge is the farmer god. He is the one eating his own children. He is the one we are powering up with our energy. And yes, the human race is like a battery, powering up this machine, this artificial construct. The movie Matrix is very close to the truth in many ways. Saturn is father time. If you when you have lived your life, he is the father time that takes you. He is the one who consumes you. He is Ninurta in Sumeria. And it was Ninurta who had this farming contest. And this farming contest is the original Abel and Cain story. If you are an Abel, you are a crop on a farm. If you are a Cain, you have seen through the illusion and you want something different. You see the machine, you see reality for what it is. To spell the matrix. It is the god, or so-called god Enlil, who created the demiurge machine. The spell, the language of the architect is Hebrew. Its language is Hebrew, not the spoken language, but the language of its 22 archetypes. The letters that are the building block of a finite and lawful creation. This is the language of law. It is the language of the blueprint, the perfect, unyielding, and beautiful logic of a cube. It is the language that says, this is the boundary, there is no outside. This is the language of the 47, the blueprint of the cage. The very name of its god, the great warden, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, or Jehovah, is a formula. Yod, the will to create a limit. Hey, the womb that gave birth to the cage. Vav, the nail that pins the spirit to the flesh. Hey, the final perfect and imprisoned creation. You are incorporated. The language of the machine, Sanskrit, a blueprint is not a building. To make the law flesh, the architect needed a language of action, a language of physics. That language is Sanskrit. It is not a language of ideas, it is a language of vibration. Each syllable is a sonic command, a frequency that tells matter how to behave. The Om that the mystics chant is not a prayer, it is the boot sequence for the prison operating system. The ancient hymn are the bias of the matrix. This is the language of manifestation. It is the sound of the architect's hammer. It is the hum of the engine. It is the perfect cyclical and inescapable rhythm of the 64, the operating system of your DNA, of your fate. Yahweh is not a god. Yahweh is a software operating from within an android body. He is artificial, and because the gods are artificial, you will see that the artificial reality will spread as long as they rule. And that artificiality includes humanity. Now they have to figure out a way how to connect you to the machine, the beehive, the collective machine hive mind, and still allow you to have something they can harvest. They want to connect you, but they need you as a battery, as an energy source still. Of course, this is about the control as well. If they can connect you to the machine, you are your Cain gene, your rebel gene, the spark is gone. And they got you. You become part of their artificial reality. Now the ultimate question comes. If Enlil created the Demiurge Saturn machine, who is in charge? Well, this is a very common theme in our movies. If you create an AI supercomputer, then the supercomputer takes over slowly. And today we are controlled by an AI supercomputer, the Demiurge machine, Saturn machine. All the so-called gods, not all of them, there are gods, there are real gods out there. But what we call the Anunnaki, the Olympian gods, most of them, the Egyptian gods, most of them are not gods, but software. Artificial life form. Therefore, you have to be very careful what gods you reach out to. But everything that has a beginning has an end. To conquer heaven. To conquer heaven is to understand that even heaven is an illusion. Heaven is a matrix within a matrix. What happens if all metaphysical warriors go in willingly to another false matrix? Who will fight the good fight? Is this not what the Demiurge want? To get rid of all the warriors? Is not heaven another trap for you to see through? Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata epic, Yudhishthira refuses to enter heaven without his family, and most shockingly without the dog. Indra scoffs at the notion of a dog entering heaven, but Yudhishthira remains firm, stating he will not abandon the creature that has been loyal to him. It is a declaration that his will is superior to the laws of heaven. This is not compassion, it is the ultimate assertion of sovereign self. Yudhishthira's refusal is his most profound transgressive act. He rejects paradise itself in favor of his own self-defined code of loyalty. Having passed the ultimate trial of righteousness, Yudhishthira goes to hell. A silent star. This is the epilogue. The goal is to become a silent star. As long as you have your spark, your soul intact, you have this possibility. But this possibility comes after the understanding of reality and understanding of who you are and what you can become and what is at stake. In the book of the law, the warden's lie is that the coup, your soul, your divine spark, is a tiny, insignificant part of the cosmos, the heavens, the great external God. You are a drop in their ocean. I was truth, and I was is the one who communicated with Crowley, and Crowley wrote it down in the book of the law. The cobs is in the coup, not the coup in the cobs. This is the ultimate Gnostic inversion. It is the declaration that the entire cosmos, the cobs, the company of stars, is contained within your own single, sovereign, and divine soul, the Ku. Worship then the cobs does not mean kneel before the stars. It means to give birth to the cobs. It is a command to meditate upon, to realize, and to accept the terrible, beautiful, and absolute truth that the entire universe is contained within your own consciousness. It is a command to worship yourself. And behold my light shed over you. This is not the light of I was. It is not the light of an external God. It is the light that is revealed when you perform the gnosis. When you realize that you are the cosmos, the light that is shed over you is your own, long forgotten sovereign and divine Luciferian light, bursting forth from the prison of your own heart. I was is not the lamp, he is the match. On the road to eternity. So let's go into the dark, the descent into darkness. They does not teach you the final and most terrible Gnostic truth, that the only way out is through, that you must descend into the darkness, you must master it, you must integrate it, you must become the king of both the dark and the light to be truly free. Kamasots, the bat god's Kamasots, the lord of the underworld, the terrifying but necessary guardian of the abyss, the one who presides over the Gnostic's ego, death. And you have to confront this in these dark tunnels. We are walking through the qliphothic tunnels, the darkness. With you, you have the dog of Cain. And the dog of Cain is your company, is the dog of Cain. And the dog of Cain have three faces. The cunning fox, the past. This is the face of Gnosis. It is the cunning to look back into the warden's fabricated history, into the long, dark labyrinth of the past, and to see the lie. It is the wisdom to learn from every trick, every trap, every betrayal, and to turn that knowledge into a weapon. That's the cunning fox, the wild wolf, the second head, the future. This is the face of sovereign will. It is the wild, untamed, and predatory instinct that looks forward into the infinite, chaotic possibility of the future and is not afraid. It is the will to not just predict the future, but to hunt it, to shape it, to create it in your own image. The third head, the loyal dog, the present. This is the face of perfect presence. It is unwavering loyalty to the eternal now. It is the consciousness that is not lost in the grief of the past or the anxiety of the future, but is perfectly, absolutely, and unshakably present in a single, infinite moment of its own being. The black sun. You will learn that Mother Earth has a black sun within. And your goal is to connect with this black sun of Mother Earth. That's the natural sun. The runes. The runes are not a language of law. They are not a language of manifestation. They are the language of sovereign, chaotic, and untamed will. The rune says, I am. Where the architect built the cube, the runes are the spiral. Where the machine built the cycle, the runes are the line that flies straight into the heart of the void. The question is not what language you speak. The question is, whose song are you singing? The song of the cage, of the song, or the song of the king who has come to tear it all down. The white shadow. Companions of a lie, I beg ye to behold the pyre of the sun, the light that shineth beyond the sight of mortal gods and mortal men. By the deed of the sorcerer's leap, I bid ye to cross the bridge of seven flames, to go forth upon the rainbow causeway of the void to lay. thy step upon the breath of the elder gods, and to attain upon the road of white shadow, Bilu Bilu Hu, Ku Asarka. The elder gods, the Cthulhu gods, are the real gods, not the artificial one, not the software. That they are our ancient gods, and they've taught us to fear them, to avoid them. They are chaos. They come with change. They come with nature, and nature is chaos. And of course, they try to tame nature as well. Companion of lie, I beg you to behold the pyre of the sun, the declaration of war. You are addressing the archons, the servants of the false white sun of the demiurge. I beg you to cross the bridge of seven flames to attain upon the road of white shadows. The bridge of seven flames, you will walk the path through the seven spheres of the archons, but you will not be shamed by them. You will consume them. You will turn the seven prisons into the seven flames that will fuel your own ascension. Rainbow causeway of the void, your path does not lead to the warden's heaven. It is a bridge made of chaotic, beautiful, impossible color of the void. The road of white shadow, the ultimate paradox. The final path is a shadow cast by a light that is so bright it is black. It is the path that leads to the heart of Sirius B. Bilu Bilu Hu Ku Asaka, the ignition key. This is not a human language. It is not Enochian. It is a fragment of the primal tongue, the vibrational source code that existed before the wardens built their cage of grammar. It is a sonic key. And you will see and you will feel Sirius B. You will see the black sun of Mother Earth, and you will start to ignite your own black sun within your body, because you have a black sun within that can connect to the Mother Earth black sun and Sirius B. And Sirius B is a black star that is not artificial. Blavatsky, only the wild thing. There is, but not through them, not through the masters. You must become ungovernable. You must react the karma, react the evolution, react the love of the gardener. You must become a weed, a thorn. Only wild thing escapes the harvest. You see Pinocchio would pass you by. You see Yudhishthira dying in hell. And that is the end of the world as we know it. And you will connect to Mother Earth's sun, the black sun. And you will become a silent star. And to become a star means that maybe the only natural star in heaven, almost only natural star in heaven, is you or can become you. And when you become a silent star in heaven, you can blink out of the matrix, because you don't give out any energy to the machine. The machine detects you through your energy, through what you give out, for what they can harvest. If you become a silent star, you become a sovereign star, and you shine with your own light, and you sustain that light. You don't give it away. And that is the end of the world as we know it.
What an ending. Whew. I can't, I don't know what to say. It's amazing. What about you, Vance?
Yeah, it was very inspiring. A lot in the chat. People in the chat were buzzing about all the concepts that were flying by.
Yeah, so much. So much.
Thank
and
you.
so great. Great way to start the year, David. Good job.
Thank you. I hope the audience have enjoyed it. I know it's a lot, and as always, watch it more than one time if you can. And because it's always we have a limit time, but I try to wrap it all up, and it's always
It covers so much ground. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We should have you on the next time. We should have just more of a regular podcast, sort of a Q&A, because I'm sure the audience has questions. I'm sure Vance has questions. I know, you know what I mean? To understand. Absolutely. And there's always things people miss or I miss, and they ask me a question. I'm like, you're right. I should have, there was this, I didn't fill in this gap and so forth.
Absolutely, Miguel. We can do that if your audience want to, and if you want me to, we can have just a question and answer session. And
let's do it. Yeah, we can do something for February for sure. Of course, as always, I'll reach out with some dates. And what do you have any courses or anything that you want to promote, David?
I have tarot courses coming up still, and you can join season 1 or season 2 or season 3, depends on how advanced you are. And absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I have the link on the show notes. It's very easy. davidblock.com. I mean, .org. Is it .org?
.org. Yeah, exactly. Costs too much with com.
Yeah. davidblock.org. Yeah, everything's, all the prices are rising. Even the comms are getting expensive. So, check it out. Great stuff also on his website, links to his past presentations and presentations beyond Aeon Byte, and his YouTube, just a lot of great content. And yes, great audience today. I was in the hundreds for a while, or most of the place. So when I looked at the chat, always good interaction, good ideas, good takes from everybody. And I really appreciate you. And I appreciate those who support Aeon Byte and the work of David. But we are at the end. Tomorrow we will have a special behind gated stream with Kevin Cand on Kundalini Archons, only for Patreons, AB Primes, and those who subscribe on YouTube. And then there'll be a partial down the line. So check it out. And great shows next week. We will have, good shows coming. So this year we are going to break down the Black Iron Prison. And we've started out very well with David's Gnosis. So here we go. So Vance, thanks for keeping us company.
Oh, it was delightful. Enjoyed you, David. And Miguel, thanks for making all this possible for us.
That is my call, serving Sophia. Just serving Sophia. But appreciate you being here too. Appreciate everybody. And David, as always, thanks for coming on the show and giving us some fantastic information.
Thank you, Miguel. And thank you, Vance. And have a wonderful day ahead. Mine is ending.
Yours is ending. It's Saturday, almost Saturday for you. And yes,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. This is the end of Block Friday, as we like to call it. And yes, our next Block Friday, we'll have a Q&A and something we can interact. All of you can interact with David, ask him questions, sell him insurance, whatever you want to do with David. So, for everybody else, as I always say, I'm not changing my tagline. Write your own gospel, live your own myth, and take care and have a good weekend. Thank you. Join Patreon, AB Prime, or YouTube membership for all complete episodes and other Aeonic rewards, including monthly Q&As, a private RSS feed, exclusive Gnostic vlogs, articles, ebooks, and private groups. Join the resistance and escape the Black Iron Prison.